Phil dies. And of course, you know how the series ends. It cuts to black. But it leaves the question of what happens with Phil, what happens with Albie, what happens with everyone else, like little Carmine. First things first, I do want to address the little Carmine thing. Is he some puppet mastermind? Is he really pulling the strings? Is he somehow going to gain additional IQ points and some shit and somehow become smart enough to take the family over? No. Um, Frankly, he lost all of his power when Rustamilio got killed. That was the primary captain backing him besides Jerry Basile, but Jerry Basile wasn't really all that influential himself. So I think just because of that alone, he has no power base, full as is. I don't see how he takes over, especially when Butchie's guys are around him. He has a capable crew, Albie as well. I don't see how he just suddenly leaps over either of them and impresses the remaining captains enough to get elected. It doesn't make sense to me.
I know he wanted to be boss for a while, but I think that was just more of an ego thing of like, oh, my dad was the boss, now I should be boss. I think there's a lot of people like that in the mafia. Just because their dad's in, they kind of have this duty. Like John Gotti Jr. too. He's another great example. Not super smart, but he wanted to become boss because his father was, and also because his father wanted him, I guess.
So, whatever remaining captains are left, I'd say Butch is elected as the new boss of the family pretty easily. His crew was involved in the war. His crew was involved in whacking Doc Santoro, so his crew's been putting in a lot of work. He got picked as underboss for a reason, out of all the other people. So I think he keeps Albie as his consigliere. As for who ends up as underboss, probably his right-hand guy, and now that right-hand guy is Raymond DeBaldo. He was the tall guy that was always with Butchie. He was a tall guy that was also making fun of Bobby Bacala. How did this fat mortadell end up as number 3? And Albie just tells him to shut up, that he used to be a Crown Vic printer salesman. So, I think Raymond ends up in that number 2 spot. And usually tends to be the case historically. Whoever ends up as number 1 will appoint someone that's close to them or was their lackey as the number 2. Scarfo did it with Chucky Merlino. Chucky Merlino was very cozy with Scarfo, so it made logical sense for Scarfo to make his buddy the number 2. As for the other crews, I think it's pretty straightforward. Jerry Basile probably remains in control of that Long Island crew. He only appeared in a few scenes. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would want to rock the boat. He's fine with where he is. The DiConcini crew is another thing. I think Peter Bucosi ends up as the captain of that crew because Raymond DeBaldo would already be an underboss. And I think Peter Bucosi, having been involved in the planning on several hits, would probably be seen as a viable choice to run that crew. So I think that's how that goes. As for the Santoro crew, that's another interesting thing. Some people think that it's likely dissolved, but personally I don't think so. Because Doc Santoro, to me, I find it very unlikely that he somehow is able to take the reins of the family very easily without opposition, and then somehow is also weak. It just makes no sense to me. Someone who makes moves like that is very comfortable in their position. They don't make moves from positions of weakness. They make those types of moves from positions of strength. That's exactly what Doc Santoro did. So what really happened after Santoro had Jerry Torchiano killed? Nothing. Nobody raised a finger. Nobody whacked him immediately. The only reason Santoro was whacked because Phil got tired, getting disrespected, and finally made a move himself. He was the only guy that made a move. And probably the only one that had the balls to make a move. Because not even Butchie did anything. That to me is very interesting. For the Santoro crew, I think it still survives. But it's probably ruled by a puppet of some sort. That way, that crew is not lost. It's not merged or dissolved. Dominic, who is a soldier in DiConcini crew, I think he is transferred to that crew to take it over. And it also works as a way for Butchie to spy on those members to see, okay, who in this crew doesn't really like me? Who in this crew has issues with my leadership? It's basically what Tony did with Gigi for the April crew. He's a glorified Gibelline. He's a spy. But that crew is all kept. It's run. It's all good. That leaves us with about, I think, 3 other crews. The Leotardo crew, for one, I think it's taken over by Peter Caporale. He's referred to as the old. He's the old timer that expresses to Phil that he's glad that he's back. Now, why him, not the other younger soldiers? Because historically, it's always been the older members of a crew that takes it over. If a younger guy's taking over a crew on behalf of an older member, it's usually because they're a protege or there's barely anyone left. And older members have been bumped up to those roles before, even when they're very, very old. Vinny Beltempo of the Gambino family didn't even end up as a captain or even made until 2010. He was 75 years old. Barely got his button, barely got a role. So it's definitely possible, and it's happened before. It's not that common, but it does happen. So I think in Caporale's case, he's friendly with the guys around the family. He's an old-timer. People will probably respect him. It makes sense for him to take over that crew. That leaves the Rusty Milio crew and the crew in Miami. The only other member of the Milio crew that we see is the Mook, John Lanzalato in this case. So I think likely he takes over that crew, which again makes sense because you can't just dissolve a faction of the family that easily. Because Millie refers to his crew as the guys in Queens and Brooklyn, which probably signifies that they're a huge part of the family. So if you're just going to dissolve a crew that big and expect no issues, it's not happening. It's really not happening. So I think that crew survives under Mook's leadership, I think. I think Miami remains under Little Carmine. He is out of life. He doesn't want to be the boss. He doesn't want to make any schemes. But he probably retains that position. He probably retains his crew. Collects every now and then, but he doesn't really have any ambitions. He's fine just staying in Florida, fixing wet t-shirt contests.
What about Coco?
Again, because getting curb stomped is not just some fucking ankle sprain. Oh, I broke my pinky finger. Oh, my leg is broken. It's like, that shit is a debilitating injury. You will be fucked up for life. And again, there's already been movies, films that have shown as like curb stomping. Sometimes it results, and sometimes it's depicted as an act that results in death. People are curious about how I source the names of some of these individuals. The Sopranos, for a good amount of cases, don't name characters after their actors. For instance, David Salerno was named after his actor, David Salerno. PDB, who's played by Peter Bukowski, again, that character takes his name from Peter Bukowski. PDB is a nickname for Peter Bukowski. It's just that's essentially like my thought process for like names and whatnot. But I think compared to the DeMeo family, I think after 2007, 2008, it's pretty stable for the most part. Again, the DeMeos will have a much harder time rebuilding, but with the Libertazzi's, not really. Because again, they were stated to have 200 members. Let's say after the war, they're whittled down to 190, 195. Again, that's more than enough to rebuild. They'll be fine in the long run. Jersey is the family that suffers the most after this war. The Libertazzi's, no, not really.
I don't know how many guys canonically are in the DeMeos, but like in real life, the DeCalvacantes right now have like 20 made guys or something along those lines.